Yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, make sure you enable notifications in YouTube if you're a YouTube subscriber, so you're notified every time a new episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast goes live. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today and be like our buddy Harold in St. Louis. Harold, how you doing, buddy? Hope all is well. Don't forget the new loyalty rewards program. $15 a month contributors get to co-host an episode of Going Live with me on Saturday nights. And for our $7.50 a month contributors, you get entered into a drawing to also co-host an episode of Going Live. There are other wonderful tidbits in on the Patreon page. Check those out. Make sure if you have questions for Mr. Fro, call into the Fro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160. Give us your questions, your comments, and all that into our Talk to Tech service so we can get your questions into Going Live Saturday night. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fro Wrestling News today, where we cover the news and rumors in around 5 minutes. We have a lot to get to today, tons of stories, starting off with some amazingly interesting comments from Shawn Michaels talking about the potential for a return to the ring. And what he basically was saying was, he was doing an interview, he was talking himself and Triple H as well, and what they were talking about is every time somebody wants to bring him back, they talk about how they want him to wrestle AJ Styles, or they want him to wrestle Sami Zayn, or somebody who is new, Shinsuke Nakamura, somebody like that, who is a much younger talent, much younger competitor. You know, he's saying now, if somebody asked him, as a matter of fact, a quote that he gave says, now if it's a whole different ball of wax, if someone says, do you want to go down and work with some other 40-plus-year-old or 50-plus-year-old whatever and mess around and be silly, you know what I mean? That doesn't seem like working to me. Something that like that I would consider, but nobody ever talks about that. It's always me and somebody half my age. The reason that I point to this is it makes it very obvious that there is a path to Shawn Michaels to return to the ring. There is a way to get him back into the ring. Unfortunately, the different conversations that are brought up to him are always about wrestling a modern talent, a young guy who is much younger. He referenced in the interview, which was done by Inside the Ropes, how he can't do the kick-ups like he used to. There's certain things about his wrestling style he can't do anymore. He can't be the Shawn Michaels from 1997. He just can't do that anymore, and he doesn't want to upset people by not being able to be the guy he used to be. He actually referenced in a good part of the interview about how the build-up to WrestleMania to him is a full-time job, and he doesn't know if he wants to put himself or his family through the rigors of training full-time for a return to the ring. But did a conversation about a match with an established veteran aging star may actually be something he'd be interested in. Definitely something to think about. I know all people out there always have these dream matches that they never got to see. It'd be wonderful. It'd be wonderful for people to start begging for one of those old-timer matches just to get him back into the ring. Gonna move on because we only got a little bit of time, but AAA has Triple Mania coming up. It is their biggest pay-per-view of the year. It is the equivalent of their version of WrestleMania. This year is Triple Mania 26. It'll be down in Mexico. It's an amazing card. Alberto El Patron's in the news today because he was supposed to be on the card facing Eli Drake of Impact Wrestling. He has pulled out of the card saying he wasn't paid his deposit up front that it was agreed upon for him to be a part of the show. But the show is loaded top to bottom with talent. La Park, Pentagon Jr., Hijo del Fantasma, Psycho Clown. Those four guys are going to be in a cage match where the last two entrants face off in a mask versus mask match. You know how they have all these specialty matches down in the AAA and CMLL family of wrestling organizations down in Mexico. It's very popular to have hair matches and mask matches. There's multiple ones on the card. Jeff Jarrett will be there in action versus Phoenix, Brian Cage, and Rich Swann in the AAA Mega Championship match. Okay, that's another one that you probably won't see anywhere else. The card is loaded. Teddy Hart will be there. Jack Evans, Juventud Guerrera, all these names that many people may be familiar with. Even Tito Santana, at the ripe age of 64, will be there. Triple Mania should be an amazing show. I hope that wrestling fans here in the United States can start to understand that there's so much more out there beyond just WWE. It'd be great for them to experience some of the outside of the norm wrestling from around the world. News in WWE world today, Jason Jordan was used as a producer for the Peyton Royce-Naomi match on SmackDown this week. He is shadowing producers, and he's learning what it is that they do in the back, just in case for some reason he doesn't get cleared to return to the ring. That is huge. Hopefully he gets cleared. He's an amazing talent, but that is a scary thing when they're already preparing for life without him. It's being reported by Mike Johnson of PWI Insider that the former SmackDown Tag Team Champion Eric Rowan suffered an arm injury. It's been confirmed by WWE. He has a torn right bicep. He will be out an extended period of time, probably why they transitioned the championships to the New Day. So that's something, it makes it so Luke Harper is now freed up in a way. And with Matt Hardy getting injured, Bray Wyatt is freed up in a way that perhaps, just perhaps, we see something like The Shield. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose taking on Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, and Luke Harper. I would love to see it. I hope they make that happen. Cody Rhodes in the news talking about if he could have any one WWE wrestler aside from his brother Goldust, which would it be? He was asked by a Twitter follower, and his response was Zack Ryder. He said his quote on Twitter is, "While the great ones in the ring, people were in MSG were chanting his name." That's right. Zack Ryder was huge over with the fans when he had his Long Island podcast or show on YouTube. He has that draw ability. I don't know why WWE hasn't capitalized on that more than they have. He's super in shape, incredibly talented, and for some reason he doesn't get a break. Cody would love to have him at All In. Someone who's not going to be in the WWE ring, but will be in Pro Wrestling Noah. We mentioned it a few weeks ago. Hideo Itami began a countdown on Twitter in anticipation of his return to Pro Wrestling Noah in a talent exchange with Pro Wrestling Noah, where he used to wrestle as Kenta. He actually posted on Twitter 10 more days, and he put up a picture of him hitting the GTS on Naomichi Marufuji, who was a huge competitor of his over there. They had a long-standing feud. Will be a great match to see him back on that roster. In addition, we talked Mexican wrestling earlier with AAA. CMLL also has their 85th anniversary show coming up. And the fascinating thing for me is, historically, if you wrestle for AAA, you couldn't wrestle for CMLL, and vice versa. Well, that's not the case anymore. La Park and Penta L0M, as he's billed in CMLL, which is Pentagon Zero or Pentagon Dark, will be wrestling on this show as well. They are allowing people to work for both promotions. An amazing development in the history of Mexican wrestling. Check out the 85th anniversario show for CMLL September 14th at Arena Mexico. But even more exciting to me about that is that they have a special card coming up on the 31st of August, where for the first time in years, Tetsuya Naito, Bushi, and Evil from Los Ingobernables de Japón will appear in Arena Mexico wrestling for CMLL. They're going to be taking on Volador Jr., La Park, and Diamante Azul. It should be a great match, but to see LIJ in CMLL is awesome, because that's where Tetsuya Naito got the idea for this faction in the first place. It was announced on SmackDown a match has already been booked for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Daniel Bryan and the returning Brie Bella teaming up against Miz and the returning Maurice at Hell in a Cell. Should be an amazing match. First match back for Maurice since she wrestled in the mixed tag team match at WrestleMania with her husband against John Cena and Nikki Bella, this time getting in the ring with Brie Bella. Brie's first match since the Women's Royal Rumble. And hopefully this leads to both of those lady talents being at Evolution, and it should hopefully be another stage, another step in the Miz versus Daniel Bryan feud. Don't forget, check out Independent Wrestling September 6th. MLW has an incredible card coming up, and what I look forward to the most is there are some matches that you just don't get to see here very often that have the opportunity to really tear the house down, and they have advertised that La Park will compete against Pentagon Jr. It should be a huge match. Pentagon Jr., the current MLW champion. I look forward to seeing that. You guys gotta check out indie wrestling. If you haven't done a lot of indie wrestling viewing, go to FroWrestling.com, click on the Indie Events tab, and check out a show coming to an area near you. You gotta get out there and support that indie wrestling. Speaking of support, Chris Jericho's cruise is coming up soon, and the card is coming together. The Young Bucks will face LAX from Impact Wrestling. We have Marty Scurll taking on Sami Callihan. The Sea of Honor tournament will be there. The Alpha Club versus the Bullet Club. Kenny Omega will be there. Make sure, if you haven't, there are actually still tickets available. It's ridiculous. A card of this size, a card of this nature, absolutely deserves to be sold out at this point. So I hope everybody who has a chance to go gets out there and goes. Today, I gotta tell you, we've got several birthday wishes. Happy birthday to Apollo Crews. He got a special shout out online from Impact Wrestling star Moose. Happy birthday to him, as well as Stevie Ray, legendary tag team wrestler from Harlem Heat, Paul Ellering, legendary manager, Neville, who is missing in action, and of course Jimmy and Jay Uso, the identical twin brothers in WWE. Happy birthday to all of those individuals, and hopefully they have many more. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we'll run down all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects we use in our shows. Make sure you check out the Indie Events tab. Please support your indie wrestling. It's very important. We need you to do that. Latest shows should be listed on that page. And while you're at it, if you need more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. You can always check out my blog as well. I've got my Infro's Corner. We have an article coming out this week that is going to be all about booking the Women's Evolution pay-per-view. Check that out if you get a chance. It'll be out later this week. Till next time, everybody, take care. Have a great night.